Welcome back to Let's Hike About It. We have crossed the Ohio River. We're in southern Indiana, not far from downtown Louisville, Charleston, Indiana, at Charleston State Park. We hopped on trail number 3 on our way to trail number 7, and if you're familiar with this state park, that's the Rose Island Loop, essentially. Rose Island, basically beginning in the 1880s, all the way through up into the 20s, and really until the Great Flood of 1937 completely wiped it out. It was kind of a place to be. It was a resort, swimming pools, a theater, all kinds of activities, rides. You could take steamboat rides and get off at Rose Island. Right now, after that flood destroyed it, then the military took it over, became an ammunitions plant for World War II, and it sat basically inaccessible to the public until 1995. Well, so while we make our way down to check out these old ruins, these resort ruins that are on the banks of the Ohio River, plenty of football in our mind. Fall camp is now midway point, basically. Hey, they're 24th ranked in the preseason Associated Press poll. It's been a minute since that has happened, but it's not important about where you start. It's a matter where you finish, and I think they're going to finish higher than that. But in this episode of Let's Hike, we're going to talk about some guys who need to really be impact guys this season, not strange names to you at all, potential MVP candidates for both offensive and defense. And are there any true freshmen that could see some legitimate snaps this season? I think so. So let's enjoy this shade, the solitude, talk some Louisville football. Let's hike about it. Without question and without a doubt, as everybody knows, Louisville's success offensively this year will be determined by how well it runs on the ground. Yes, Jeff Brom is still going to throw the ball quite heavily. It's kind of unique to say that the Jeff Brom offense will be determined by the running game, but that it will. And that includes Lincoln Keenholz, but more on his ability to run in just a second. I'm talking first about these running backs. And one of the headlines throughout fall camp has been the health status of Isaac Brown, and rightfully so. The dude has been dinged up. Missed quite a number of games last year because of an injury. Still turned in one of the best performances in the country as a running back last year, even though limited in games due to, I guess it was a hamstring injury. Well, when camp began, he was over there with the trainers. He was lifting weights and doing all kinds of, the rope, working on the ropes. Whatever's that called? What's it called? Put it in the comments. Is it just where they're doing those heavy ropes? That kind of stuff. Running. Day 2, kind of the same stuff. Does a little bit of positional drill work with Chris Barkley and his fellow running backs. Day 3, a little bit more. And as I basically alluded to, as you could see the pattern through 1, 2, 3, that pattern continued through 4, 5, 6, and into the first scrimmage. Well, first scrimmage, I suspect he may not have had any carries, but it wasn't because he's injured or banged up. As I've alluded to since day 1 and through day 6 of fall camp when they were open, he's fine. Isaac Brown is fine. This is being purposely done to help preserve, protect his body, and slowly progress him to game 1. So he's completely ready, not banged up at all, ready to go. He even said, after talking to us after fall camp just the other day, hey, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get in there with my boys. Looking forward to seeing Isaac Brown taking snaps in game 1. Behind Isaac, obviously you have Bama, Kewan Brown. In his right, he could be a first-team all-conference elsewhere. Am I wrong? Dude is a star himself. And then you got Missouri transfer Marquise Davis. You've got redshirt freshman Braxton Jennings, who just made a splash at the end of the season in his MVP performance against Kentucky in the Governor's Cup blowout of the Wildcats. True freshman Lakey Tompkins. Dude is big. I think Michael Bush big. Dude is big. Big. Not saying he is Michael Bush, but he's big. So yeah, that Louisville ground game is going to really determine how well the Louisville offense is going to perform. And this year they're adding in another wrinkle. As I've been reporting throughout camp, the quarterbacks for the first time in Louisville fall camp, and we're working out with the running backs. They've been sending Lincoln Keenholz and David Widener over to work with the running backs. Chris Barkley over there having them, doing their moves, hopping over stuff, avoiding tackles, that type of thing. Each one of the running backs, Chris Barkley said, hey, that guy's fast. He can move. He's an athlete. They're excited. Kewan Brown said he's looking forward to being on the field on game day because what Lincoln can do. And his legs, as they say, hey, that's going to open up even more so for the running game, because this defense is going to be scratching their heads. Is he going to throw? Is he going to hand off to Isaac or Bama? Or is he going to keep the ball himself? This offense, it should be so much more fun. I haven't even talked about the wide receivers or the tight ends yet, but it's going to be dictated, I think, strongly believe, by the success of the ground game. And as we saw last year, running back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're all getting dinged up. We got the running backs 4 and 5 in game 12, and they just put a whooping on Kentucky, looking like running backs 1 and 2. This is a room that is deep like that, possibly even deeper and more talented. They're going to dictate the success of this offense, and it's going to be a lot of fun watching them do it. There's 14 Mile Creek, pretty wide creek. The river is high. It connects downstream a little bit to the Ohio River. The land on the other side is Rose Island, and then on the other side of Rose Island is the Ohio River. Let's get down there. What was it, practice 4 or practice 5, I believe it was? They were doing a punting drill. And as they're just about to finish, whistles come in, one more. And it's a different guy, number 3, Lincoln Keenholz. He takes the spot where the punters are. Fans start to go crazy. The teammates start to get a little buzz about him. The fans that are sitting on the sidelines, it's late in the day. All of a sudden, despite the heat, they're all of a sudden they're perked up. They're getting out of their seats and snap. He takes the snap perfectly. It's a good snap. Catches it perfectly, steps into it, and I'm telling you, I'm not stretching the truth at all. Perfect spiral, fading towards the right sideline, remaining in bounds. I didn't have a tape measure out. I would say at least over 45 yards, and was well enough to have both guys, offense and defense, that were lined up on each side during this competition, went nuts. Lincoln's running around, high fives all over the place. Yeah. We've heard he can golf. We've heard him described as an athlete. He can bowl. Yeah, he can punt too. As impressive as that was, Keenholz is not the answer at punting. Now again, Jeff Brom likes to do some trickery, including fake punt. So I don't think it's outside of the realm of a good possibility that we see him in there on a 4th down and punts. To set up, he's in there again on a 4th down and doesn't punt. He throws or runs. So that is certainly a wrinkle, I think, that is now cemented in the Louisville playbook, but that's not the answer to Louisville's season-long punting concerns. Those need to be figured out before September 6th. It needs to become a consistent, doesn't have to be All-American, All-Conference, just consistently good. Get the ball, get it downfield. Welcome to Rose Island. For those my age, I almost wanted to say, welcome to Fantasy Island. But welcome to Rose Island, where 100 years ago, this place was buzzing. It was a resort. It was a place to be. You could come stay here. You could swim here in a fantastic pool for the ages. You could go watch some plays. You could ride on some amusement rides. It was a place to be. Well, today it's where I am, and we're going to talk about some guys who are going to be the guys for Louisville football. Guys that I think if Louisville is going to have the season that it wants to, and I believe that it can, these are the guys that need to have MVP type of seasons. I'm going to talk about 2 of them on offense. I'm going to talk about 2 of them on defense. I also think there's some freshmen where we need to talk about. And we're going to do it right here on Rose Island. 100 years after the crowds were buzzing at this place, you could pay a quarter, hop on a steamboat, right up on the banks of the Ohio River to its shore, come off, go have a great time. Well, today, those crowds are gone. I think it's just me and you. Let's go talk some potential MVPs. This is a piece of some old history. No idea what it was, but it sits in an area that was the dance hall. There used to be a big structure here. They would come here and what do you think they would did here? Yeah, they would dance, y'all. And if Louisville wants to do some dancing, they need some MVPs to have MVP type seasons. Check out this old water fountain. And can you imagine? Close your eyes, if you will. Think it's 1925. People are in their fine summer clothes. It's hot. It's humid. This fountain is flowing. Looks like it's probably gurgling, spraying out the top, flowing down the sides into this moat. Moss isn't here, shiny, reflecting water. Had to look beautiful. Should we start with the offense? I think so. I think we should start with the offense. And as I said just a moment ago, this offense is going to be dictated, the success of it, by what happens on the ground. And as I noted, you've got a quarterback who can run. We all know Chris Barkley's got a whole stable, a whole room of guys that can run. He called it an ocean. Said it's not a pond, it's an ocean of talent in his room. His words, not a pond, an ocean. I love it. But obviously, at the top of that room is All-American, All-ACC. Mr. You can't catch him. If he gets next to you, you're going to see the back of him as the officials put their hands in the air. Isaac Brown has got to be your number one candidate for offensive MVP for these Cardinals. I mean, it's a team that's got a slew of potential impact guys that could rise to that elevation. Trey Richardson at wide receiver, LaWayne McCoy, Trayshawn Hurry at wide receiver. Obviously, you've got Lincoln Keenholz. You've got Bama, Kewan Brown at running back. You have other running backs. You've got some tight ends that could make a real big difference this year. Sorry if I'm offensive lineman, but you don't really ever get the recognition you deserve, and you're not going to get it here. But we could say the whole offensive line could be an MVP group. But number one, I'm going to give it to number one. He's my number one candidate, and he's got to be for the Louisville offense if it wants to have the season it hopes to have. And he needs to stay healthy throughout the season. Thus, the slow buildup throughout fall camp. Isaac Brown, MVP candidate, number one. MVP candidate, number two. You might have him as number one. He wears number three. He's the starting quarterback, Lincoln Keenholz. Here's the old swimming pool. They filled it up with gravel. First time I was here, it was not filled up with gravel, and it was full of very green water. So I'm glad to see they had filled it up. Should we go down into the pool? Quite a good size. Imagine it's the middle of summer. Again, close your eyes if you will. It is the middle of summer, kind of like now. It's hot. It's not too hot, but it's with that humidity, yeah, it feels pretty dang hot. And you're on vacation. You just hopped off a steamboat, came off the shore of the Ohio River over here to my right, walked up this beautiful forested path, and oh my goodness, glistening in the sunlight. You are just ready. Let's go into the Rose Island pool. I'm swimming. Oh, this water feels so good. It's so refreshing. Okay, you can open your eyes again. I wasn't swimming. That was all pretend. Lincoln Keenholz needs to have an MVP type of season for Louisville, just like Isaac Brown. If the Cardinals hope to be in Charlotte in December playing in the ACC Championship game. And he's not your typical quarterback that we've seen here in Louisville. We've heard it from Jeff Brown. We've heard it from Brian Brown. We've heard it from multiple players, receivers, running backs. This is not a quarterback that we've seen wearing a Louisville uniform for quite some time. He's got a good arm. We've seen good arms. This dude can run. He's fast. He is elusive. He's not afraid to run. In fact, they're trying to teach him, hey, hang on a second. Learn your pocket awareness a little bit more as well. That's kind of been the focus. This dude is going to impact this game, this season in multiple ways, and they all need to be positive. Sure, there will be some unfortunate moments, but he needs to have some consistent big moments. That spotlight's going to be huge, as I said, in game one. Looking forward to seeing how he performs against Ole Miss down in Nashville. Let's get out of this pool. Deep, thick forest. You've got a nice cliff wall back there. Doesn't look like much of anything, except this is where the hotel used to sit here on Rose Island. The steamboats would come off right out here through these trees, and may be able to make it out the Ohio River, which we'll get down to in just a second. They would hop on that, come on up, hop into the Rose Island Hotel. And here is where we're going to start talking about my Louisville defensive MVP candidates. Now, those as obvious as the offense. There's the old boat landing. This is where people would come pouring off the steamboats and pour onto Rose Island for a day or a couple days, a weekend, a week of fun. Can only imagine. Right now, it's quite flooded. They'd have some boardwalks. Boats would be right up on shore. And it's kind of ironic because it was the 1937 flood that ruined this whole place, which, I don't know if you could see the top of that pole way back there. When I first started this, the flood level was down at my ankle. Now it's, oh gosh, 50 feet or more above my head. The river is quite deep. That current out there is no joke either. I'm seeing massive full-size trees, trunks, just zipping by. And this season's going to zip by. And if they want to continue to play well and achieve their goals, which means they're playing well into 2020 season, these two guys need to have defensive MVP type performances. Number one has to be the guy who's getting most of the headlines for this defense. Just like Isaac Brown made a huge decision to come back for another year with the Cardinals. And I'm talking about edge Clev Lubin. I mean, the guy was one of the top havoc makers in the country last year. It was one of the top performers of just getting into the backfield. His success rate in the backfield led all rushers in the country last year, not just the ACC, in the country. And he's back. And I believe that this defensive line and what he has on the opposite side is going to be even stiffer in drawing offensive line attention and others' attention, tight end and running backs' attention away from him, making double teams a harder thing to decide to do, because if you do that on Clev, here comes AJ Green. Here comes Tyler Thompson. On and on and on. This is a very deep and talented group of edge rushers that Louisville has, but it all starts with the success of Clev Lubin, how often he can get in the backfield. So valuable. He needs to have that season where he's racking up numbers and drawing so much attention that his teammates are also putting up impressive numbers. I expect both of those to prove true. My number one defensive candidate for Louisville starts with number 50, Clev Lubin. Look at that, Rose Island at a zoo, and among the attractions, a black bear. He's had some nice looking claws, and it was named Teddy Roosevelt. How about that? Part of the cage, apparently, there's an embedded concrete metal frame above here that they believe was part of the cage that held that black bear. Concrete base. It probably was a black bear. Right here, let's go in the cage. Oh. All right, my number two candidate for the eventual defensive MVP for Louisville in 2026. Who you got? This guy was one of my standout performers throughout the spring. And there were so many of them, but one of the big names that Louisville grabbed in the transfer portal, this one coming over from Iowa, safety Cohen Entringer. The guy is a total difference maker back in the secondary, a guy who has experienced elite college defense during his time at Iowa, and he has spoken positively referring to that, saying this Louisville defense, the talent and the ability and the potential is similar to what he experienced at Iowa. And if that holds true, Louisville's got an elite defense, and certainly when you look at it on paper, it seems that way. If it's going to be, he's going to be one of the main reasons why. He's going to have to be one of those guys that stops those potential big plays that we heard about following the first scrimmage. A complete difference maker for these Cardinals. So those are my two Defensive MVPs, Clev Lubin, no-brainer, Cohen Entringer, and I think that's a no-brainer as well. They joined my offensive MVP candidates, Isaac Brown and Lincoln Keenholz, and those are clearly no-brainers. Those are no-duh McCammon. Who else you got here? It's going to be interesting to see who does rise, but I think for Louisville to have the season that it wants to have, that it's looking for and believes that it can have, those four are your top MVP candidates for the Cardinals in 2026. See if I can get down here without falling. It's questionable. A couple freshmen that I'm looking forward to seeing how they perform in their first year. Well, the entire freshman class. I'm looking forward to seeing how their first year as a Cardinal goes. But obviously the experience is going to vary for each individual player. I mean, if you're a guy on the defensive side of the ball, I recently asked Jeff Brom if there were any freshman faces that were surprising. He mentioned a couple people on offense, which I'll get to in a second. But when he got to the defense, he's like, we're kind of loaded defensively. So on the defensive side of the ball, it's going to be depth, special teams. But when we're talking about true freshmen on this Louisville roster, which has a lot of experience, be it either returning from last year or fantastic pickups through the transfer portal for either first or second team on the depth chart, it's going to be harder for true freshmen to crack those depth charts. But if it's going to happen, I believe it's going to happen on the offensive side of the ball. For example, I think we'll see quarterback Briggs Cherry. I think we'll see him get opportunities to come in. How the game allows will depend on how many snaps he does gain. But there are two that I believe we'll see, should I say substantial? Maybe substantial is not the word, but we'll see plenty of legit snaps, opportunities to become difference makers for these Cardinals in 2026. And that starts with the freshman at tight end at Julius Miles. I mean, 6'6" and arms that belong to somebody even taller. The guy has been an impressive physical specimen throughout fall camp. And when camp was open, the guy displayed fantastic hands and the ability to catch the ball, and which led to Jeff Brom mentioned a couple times already about how when they're in the red zone, you might see him out wide in the receiver position as potential touchdown receiver down in the red zone. I think as he continues to gain that type of experience, especially if he sees success early, his confidence is going to rise. And if it happens early in the season, you could see his number of snaps just continue to increase as the season goes on. Now, of course, that's going to partially be determined on how the guys in front of him are performing at tight end, or even if they move him at wide receiver for some of the snaps. But yeah, Julius Miles, that's my number one pick for a true freshman who could see the most legitimate snaps for the Cardinals this season. Hey, before we say goodbye to the Rose Island here, where I hop onto that bridge and climb to the other side, back to the mainland of the Hoosier State, who's my number two freshman, true freshman that could see potentially the most legitimate snaps of all the true freshmen this year? I'm going to go at wide receiver, Gavin Waddell. There's a number of guys in front of him, but he's drawn praise from his coaches, Deion Branch, Jeff Brom, Brian Brom. Multiple fellow teammates have mentioned him, and just watching him through first day of camp and watching his confidence grow and his ability and become consistent through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He looks like a freshman that Jeff Brom and Deion Branch and company might say, hey, give him a few snaps. Not sure if it'll be against Ole Miss, but if the opportunity arises in week 2, and again, just like Julius Miles, if the opportunity exists and knocks at the door and he has some success, confidence rises, opportunities will probably continue to knock. So Julius Miles, tight end / wide receiver, and wide receiver Gavin Waddell. Those are my two picks for two freshmen, true freshmen, that I think will see the most legitimate snaps of the Cardinals in 2026. Attention. Very steep and strenuous trail. Do not hike down if you cannot. Hike back up. You are responsible for your safety. Both good, factual, common sense things that you should be aware of. I did not hike down it. I enjoyed the longer, less strenuous Trail 3. That I have to tell you, it's longer, it's less steep, but it's still steep, and it's longer uphill. So I'm glad to be at the sign, but don't take that as we're done. Nope, but it's flatter. Hey, real quick, have you got your tailgating stuff ready yet? Better get on it. Hey, appreciate you going hiking with Michael McCammon.